Welcome to Trial Site News podcast series. The nation has been in the grip of a national crisis involving opioid addiction. One of the major manufacturers of opioids was Purdue Pharma, the makers of Oxycotin. Now, thanks to the efforts by Dr. Jason Beaman and team, Oklahoma State University, or OSU, secured a windfall from a settlement with opioid maker Purdue Pharma earlier this year. Now, it's to become a major hub for addiction research, and it just got more serious as the company also handed over thousands of proprietary molecules, patient samples, and other data. Trial Site News is proud to present Dr. Jason Beaman, who currently serves as the chair of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Oklahoma State University, Center for Health Sciences. In addition to leading cutting-edge research, Dr. Beaman provides clinical psychiatric consults with OSU Medical Center and performs private forensic evaluations and consulting. So, Doctor, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Now, before we deep dive into our topic today, for our audience, tell us, if you would, what got you into this specific field of medicine?
So I am chair of psychiatry at Oklahoma State University Center for Health Sciences. I am board certified in family medicine, psychiatry, forensic psychiatry, and addiction medicine. And all of those areas really converge into the opioid epidemic. So in my role as chair of psychiatry, I've been very involved in really just trying to save lives here in Oklahoma. One of the unique challenges of the opioid epidemic is that you really can't talk about just opioid prescribing without talking about how you appropriately and effectively treat pain. So I got involved in opioid litigation through my forensic psychiatry role and my expertise in addiction, and it all just kind of wrapped up as a perfect storm, as Oklahoma was one of the first states in the country to file the nuisance claim against the pharmaceutical manufacturers.
So the nuisance claim, for those that don't know, tell us a little bit more about that.
You know, there's a couple of different approaches to filing a lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies, anywhere from like a false claim, saying that the manufacturers caused false claims to be submitted to the state Medicaid agencies and to Medicare, to false advertising. And Oklahoma approached it with a nuisance claim, which basically says that you've created this huge public nuisance, kind of like you own pigs and your pigs got out and ruined my yard. Very similar, that your medications got out and through your lack of responsible practices, and they've destroyed the state of Oklahoma. There's some intricacies of Oklahoma law that allowed that to go forward. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know exactly what those intricacies are, but it kind of allowed the lawsuit to stay in the state of Oklahoma without being removed to federal court, and also helped to keep Oklahoma out of all the other lawsuits that are going in the MDL in Cleveland, Ohio.
Wow. So now, first, congratulations, the launch of the National Center for Addiction Studies and Treatment at OSU Centers for Wellness and Recovery in Tulsa, and the $177 million endowment. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I mean, it's incredible. It's been a whirlwind over the last really 6 to 12 months as we've been gearing up for this, but incredibly exciting, and we're all very enthusiastic about the time to come.
Well, we're excited for you guys, and can you share your thoughts on the overall direction of the center?
Sure. The Center for Wellness and Recovery is designed to have 4 major pillars of research, clinical services, advocacy, and education. We think it's going to take effort in all 4 of those areas to get Oklahoma out of the throes of the opioid epidemic and really to put a dent in the addiction burden that we have.
Got you. So the opioid addiction, can you share more about the focus of the center and the vision for the type of research?
So the center is largely geared towards opioid addiction, but then also towards evidence-based treatments for pain. And we provide a ton of services from clinical on down. One of our major focuses is in research from the bench level all the way up to the public health level. so that we start with a molecule and would eventually end up studying the effects of that molecule on the population as a whole and every step in between.
I see. So what type of evidence-based treatments for pain would you guys be looking into?
Well, so one of the first things is just looking at the effectiveness of opioids for chronic pain. We know that the science that exists out there for chronic opioid therapy is not really where it should be to be as widespread, as widely used as it is. But we also know a lot of people will tell you chronic opioid therapy is ineffective, but we don't know that. We don't know if it's effective or not. And what patients is it effective in and what patient is it not effective in? At what point does the risk of addiction overtake the benefits of the pain medication? So we really do need to study opioids like we would any other medicine. It's our belief that we bypassed a lot of that original research and through influence and aggressive marketing from the pharmaceutical manufacturers. So we think that there's still a lot of research left to be done on opioids. When we look at other options, we think that NSAID therapy, even Tylenol, ancillary services like osteopathic manipulative medicine, acupuncture, behavioral health services, including therapy, all of those should be part of a comprehensive pain program. And we're looking forward to being able to study those in context and in different clinical trials.
Now, how will the fact that Purdue is sharing thousands of proprietary molecules and patient samples, not to mention other data, make a difference? And can you share?
I think it's going to be incredible. I think it's going to be incredible. You have a major biotech company that is handing over their R&D department to a public university. This includes thousands of molecules that they've tested, developed, have tested a little bit, have tested a lot for the treatment of pain and addiction. It will come with all of the information that they've learned about that molecule. So all of the assays, animal trials, and then human data that they've collected too. So thousands of molecules. We don't know really a lot about what those molecules are and why they weren't taken to market, what was the goal to take them to market. But we do know that they hold a lot of promise. That's one thing that we got. We essentially got 3 gifts from Purdue, completely unrelated to the settlement. Purdue was under no obligation to do this, but through our relationship through the settlement, reached out to make sure that these research assets would not go to waste. So they gave us 3 things. One is the molecules. Number 2 is at some point about 10 to 15 years ago, Purdue started to collect blood samples on all of the patients that they had in a clinical trial.
Oh, wow.
Not knowing what they might need it for, but really thought, this is a really good opportunity. And so they took the blood and they put it in a freezer where it's sat since. And so not wanting that to go to waste, they gifted those to us also, along with all of the patient information that would go with it. And then third, they have loaned us their chief science officer to help us understand what's in this material. So it's not just them delivering boxes, they're giving us an individual to walk us through what the information is. And it's the individual that spearheaded these initiatives.
Oh, that's going to be an incredible asset. So how might you guys then leverage these assets for translational research?
That is our goal, is to take these molecules and start a hiring process of nationally recognized researchers to come in and help us identify what these molecules are and what the potential is, and how do we take them to market. Our goal is to hopefully develop a drug that can be effectively used for either pain or addiction that was developed here at OSU. Any monetary profits that come from these molecules belong to the university and not to Purdue.
Now, We know that you are driven to better understand the underlying causes of pain and addiction, to improve pain management and treat substance abuse disorders. In our report, research efforts are sought to be a 10 to 15-year ramp-up to set up new projects and identify collaborators. Does this mean we won't have any advanced cures for opioid addiction for another decade, or does, with this new treasure trove of data, now speed up the process?
I think I would say both, that it's probably going to take 10 to 15 years for some of this to be out on the market. But there are, these molecules were in different stages of development at Purdue. Mm-hmm. And so we can really kind of pick up right where they left off. And so I do expect to see some on the market before then.
Oh, that would be amazing. And on a side note with the blood samples, that's because you have all the patient info. How, along with the actual blood samples themselves, how do you think that's going to affect your overall progress for your research?
Well, I think of it as groundbreaking. Essentially, we have a library of biosamples on pain patients. Mm-hmm. To my knowledge, there's no other place in the country that has this, no other public university that has 50,000 biosamples. What the potential is there, we're not quite sure, because, this transfer of assets moved very quickly. We're still, the legal work is signed, and now it's scientists talking to scientists trying to figure out exactly what the assets contain, and then how to get them transferred. And once we get that information, we'll know more about what directions to go. But the biosamples hold a lot of promise. There is a search for the unicorn and the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which is a biomarker for addiction. And I think that concept holds a lot of promise, because we know some people take opioids and get addicted, and some people take opioids and do not get addicted. Even the largest number in a study quotes 40% of chronic pain patients meet criteria for opioid use disorder. But my question is, what about the other 60? And why are they not? Now, with that being said, opioids are highly addictive substances. Right. So the concept that you might be able to expose a brain to such a highly addictive substance and they not get addicted, we want to be careful with that. I've studied the opioid epidemics around the world extensively, and it's like society learns their lesson that opioids are addictive, and then we forget that lesson, and it gets repackaged in some way, some new formulation, some new delivery tool, and then we do it all over again. And I want to make sure that we don't fall into that trap.
That's wise. Now, we are very interested in the connection between research and practice, which is very important. Now, how has your position at leading the psychiatric department, as well as a clinical practice, support your understanding of research and what direction we are headed in, not only in fighting opioid addiction, as well as the future of pain management?
Yeah, I think in a lot of different ways. One of the big problems with pain is that if you talk to primary care doctors, they tell you, we know how to treat pain. We need our patients to have access to physical therapy. We need our patients to have access to other medications besides opioids. We need to have counseling and therapy available to our patients. We need to be able to look for alternative means. And in the early 1990s, late 80s, pain management meant a whole comprehensive team with an individualized plan. And then insurance companies got involved and stopped paying for all of that because it was easier and cheaper to pay for an opioid prescription. And then through the aggressive marketing campaign, doctors were told that all of that other stuff didn't work and opioids are the best treatment, and you should just be giving everyone opioids because they're not addicting if you have pain. And so when I bring all of that into my clinical role, I advocate for against blanket policies from insurance companies, that we take an individualized approach, that the solution to pain is probably not going to be a silver bullet, but it's going to involve a lot of different modalities, but that those modalities will save everyone money over time.
Yeah. especially if you look at the long-term negative effects of being addicted.
Yeah, absolutely. And the insurance companies are seeing that because now they're really pulling back on what they'll pay for in the role of opioid-based pain management.
Yeah, and I'm sure in your line of work, you've probably seen a lot of the negative side effects, which that's a whole nother ball game right there.
Yeah, absolutely. As an addiction medicine doctor, I see opioid addiction all of the time. It's hard to go anywhere in the country now without seeing it, but it's a complicated picture.
Yeah, and you see a lot of that here too in Los Angeles, where I reside. But we have a lot of homeless and a lot of folks that are addicted, not just to your basic street level drugs, but opioids. And that has I've known people that they used to have homes and now they're homeless, and it has a lot to do with it. Which then that brings me to this next question, which is, obviously you've seen this stuff. Is this what got you into addiction and pain management and finding alternatives to opioids as a care option?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a degree in public health. I see mental health of Oklahoma as an academic chair. I see that as my responsibility. And so when I was first practicing in Oklahoma 4 years ago, when I moved back here, I realized you can't even begin to talk about improving mental health unless you get a handle on the opioid addiction. And so I started kind of aggressively putting together a public health framework, working with our different state agencies on what would be available to start monitoring at a very fine level opioid prescriptions and high volume prescribers. And then I have pushed out extensive education on the proper use of opioids, the danger of opioids, and appropriate pain management. And we've seen a dramatic decrease in opioid prescriptions, 29% decrease over the last few years. And so, but I can't just come and tell you there's a problem, right? And doctors don't respond very well when you say, stop prescribing opioids. Right. Their answer will be, well, what do you want me to do? I have to do something. Don't be on your high horse right in front of me telling me not to do this, because I'm the one sitting across from the patient. So I do feel like we have to come with solutions and appropriate non-opioid based recommendations for pain management and really try to assist those doctors, because it's a very, very difficult job that they have.
Right. Now, shifting back to the blood samples from clinical trials, and having access obviously can help investigate genetic pathways that drive pain, or can they help investigate genetic pathways that drive pain and addiction?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the biosamples are going to help us understand both of those. We know that pain can happen for a lot of reasons, from an injury to physical manifestation of psychological distress. And some people do that more than others, and we're hoping to find a genetic framework that helps us better understand that. Also, some people experience pain differently. You could have two people have the exact same injury, but their experience and life trajectory from the pain is completely different. And we hope that the biosamples are going to help us understand that.
Understand the why, right. There's people that have long-term too pain. Their body adjusts and they still feel the pain, but it's not like it was in the beginning where it's just all consuming.
Yeah, it depends. We know I certainly have a lot of people who come to me in the addiction medicine clinic and say, I want to get off these medicines, these opioids, but I don't know what you're going to do about my pain. And I tell them we're going to listen to you. We're going to do a comprehensive treatment plan. But then within 2 weeks, we don't need it. 2 weeks or a month, their opioid receptors have downregulated, and they feel better than they felt in years.
Oh, wow.
So it really is that individualized approach, because I have had patients that we took off their opioids and they continue to experience unrelenting pain. So there's not really a one shoe fits all for this. The most important thing that physicians can do is just listen to their patients.
No, that's wise advice. And I know it can be difficult because there's a lot of places where they're overwhelmed. You got 15, 20 minutes tops, and you've got, every person is unique and they need to be heard. So, yeah.
Right, because they're your 30th patient for the day, but you're their first doctor of the day. So
yep.
It's difficult, but we got to listen to our patients.
Agreed. Now, on a different note, Trial Site News, we have a large audience of biopharmaceutical companies, academic research centers, commercial research sites, and institutional investors, not to mention medical professionals and patients. Are you interested in partnerships, such as with the biopharma companies or other research centers?
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the strategic initiatives for the Center for Wellness and Recovery is industry collaboration and recognizing that the public-private partnership really might be the silver bullet to get us up and going and could help the most amount of people. You know, the biotech industry has experience in doing this. We do not. And so there's no reason for us to reinvent the wheel. We do have a relationship with Purdue Pharmaceuticals and whatever entity they exist as they go through bankruptcy and other litigation. But we have relationships with other entities and are in the beginning stages of forming relationships with some international kind of manufacturers of different clinical products and then other pharmaceutical companies here in the United States. So anybody out there that's interested, we would be happy to discuss further for sure.
Yeah, and absolutely. And we'll definitely provide links to help people connect with you guys. So absolutely. Now, do you have any parting thoughts for our audience to think about with the future of pain management research?
You know, pain management research is, you can't lump all pain together. I think it's going to really center on psychiatry, mental health, and then also workplace injury, because that's where a lot of these patients are coming from. I think we can do a ton of prevention on the backside so that we don't end up with such horrible pain afterwards. So that's where we're going to be focusing on from prevention all the way up to treating the pain that's there. And we're going to be pushing out products and research, hopefully starting within the next 18 months and going forward.
Well, we're excited to see where you guys go, and we're rooting for you. And we'll definitely be keeping an eye on this story as it continues to keep developing, because this is an amazing opportunity.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, for those of you in the audience interested in learning more, you can visit his website at health.okstate.edu/center-for-wellness-and-recovery, which we will, of course, be providing links in the description below. And you can also find us at Trial Site News on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and the links will be provided in the description below. So, Dr. Beaman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.